All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please, we'll come to order. We'll be conducting two public hearings tonight prior to the agenda meeting. First thing I will do is read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by the way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, please use the other stairwell. Please do not use the elevators. Once you've reached the main floor, follow the exit signs and exit away from the building and quickly proceed further away from the building. Be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please, if you will register your presence for the first public hearing.
Have 19 present and 2 absent.
Mr. Crawford, Mr. Kaler are absent due to conflicts in scheduling, and of course I think all of you are aware Mr. Hasty is absent due to a death in the family, and we will all remember him. Madam Clerk, if you will read the first call, please, ma'am.
Notice of public hearing in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Sections 5-5-105 and 13-7-105. The Board of County Commissioners of Blount County, Tennessee will convene and hold public hearing on August 7, 2012 at 6:30 p.m. at the Blount County Courthouse Commission Meeting Room for the following proposed amendments to the zoning resolution of Blount County, Tennessee, being Resolution 00-06-010 and specifically the zoning map of Blount County, Tennessee. A resolution to amend the zoning map of Blount County, Tennessee from S suburbanizing to C commercial for property located at 2884 West Lamar Alexander Parkway. The property is identified on tax map 055 and parcel 053.03 and is shown hatched on the map below.
Thank you very much. Do I have anyone from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will declare this public hearing closed as I have no light shining. Madam Clerk, we will continue to the next public hearing. We will not register our presence again as it has not changed. Therefore, if you would read the call, please.
Notice of public hearing. In accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Sections 5-5-105 and 13-7-105, the Board of County Commissioners of Blount County, Tennessee will hold public hearing on August 7th, 2012 at 6:30 p.m. at the Blount County Courthouse Commission Meeting Room for the following proposed amendment to the zoning resolution of Blount County, Tennessee, being Resolution 00-06-010. A resolution to amend the zoning resolution of Blount County, Tennessee, Article 13 and Sections 9.4CA, 9.1D, 9.2D, 9.3D, and 9.10D to regulate pain management clinics. In summary, establishing definition of pain management clinic and regulation of same as special exception in the C commercial zone with requirements specified for state licensing and permit, separation of 1,000 feet from school, daycare facility, park or church, separation of 500 feet from residences, fencing and location on arterial road, and prohibiting of use in the S, R1, R2, and RAC zones.
Anyone wish to speak on this? Mr. Lamb, if you would please come forward, please.
I just want to report for the record that City of Maryville and City of Alcoa have both supported this amendment. They are required to look at that amendment, review it, and make recommendation back to the County Commission, and both of them have made recommendation for approval.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no hands, seeing no lights, I'll declare this public hearing closed. Now, I welcome all of you to the August 7th agenda meeting for the Blount County Commission. If you would please register your presence as here by pressing the yes button.
You have 19 present and 2 absent.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we'll have public input on items on the agenda. Anyone wish to speak to items on the agenda? Ms. Ball. Mr. Dunlap. Mr. Britt. Ms. Ball, if you come forward, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to speak to the sales tax issue. The dust from the election hasn't even settled yet, and we already have public officials salivating to get this money. It's for the kids. Yeah, right. When is it ever not for the kids or for the elderly or for some noble purpose? When are we going to draw a line in the sand? We see religion up there, and if you open the Bible up and read it, you find that taxation violates 2 of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not steal. Taxation is theft, and you all want to steal more of the people's money. It also says thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, and we are coveting our neighbor's goods through the force of government. And violating 2 of God's 10 commandments, and then turn around, and I want to remind you of what the 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto says. It says free education for kids. So when are we going to stand strong and say enough is enough? It is time to stop. I haven't even worked that hard at it, but I've already gotten 30-something signatures here against the tax increase, and we've got about 400 signatures for a charter government. If you push us much further, we're going to look at reforming the entire county government. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Dunlap.
I won't stand here and bore you with numbers. You all know and will hear what's going to happen if this passes in Blount County on the sales tax referendum. It's going to be a benefit to the schools. It's going to be a benefit to the highway department. It'll be a benefit to the county government. I shop in the city of Alcoa, and a sweet little friend of mine last night couldn't have said it any better than anything I have heard. Miss Abbott stood up here, I think, and said, if I'm going to spend it in Alcoa, I'd like to have my share back with the county. That's all I need to say to you all. If I'm going to go to Alcoa and spend an extra sales tax, I want it to go into Blount County also. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Britt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, County Commissioners. I'm speaking to G13, the resolution on the sales tax that already exists. And in fact, I can attest to that. I ate lunch and dinner there today, and so I hope the Alcoa schools really appreciate my contribution to the new high school. And because that is where that money is going. As I think about the young people in the Blount County school system, I think about the fiscal crisis that we're under and distress as we begin the planning process of the 2013-14 school year. We're looking at about a $5 million deficit in our budget and for operating expenses. While our performance has been well above average, our per pupil expenditure is well below average, about $683. I think it's a tremendous bargain for what the people are getting in our county as we've leveraged and been good stewards of those tax dollars. I do want to remind everyone, including the public, that the Alcoa City Schools currently have a per pupil expenditure of $10,827, which is tremendously above the state average, and it constitutes $2,426 above, that's per student, above what we spend in the Blount County schools per student. So all I'm asking is for you and urging you and encouraging you to support this referendum, to take this already existing tax and spread this among all of our county for our roads and for our schools so that our children in the Blount County school system can take advantage of these dollars as well. In my opinion, our children in the Blount County schools are just as important as those in the Maryville City and Alcoa City school system. And so again, I urge you to support this, and I appreciate the time to get up and speak this evening on this issue. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Seeing no other hands, we will move forward. Now stand for a motion to approve the minutes of July 10, 2012. Mr. Lewis. Second, Mr. Carver. Any alterations or discussions? Please vote.
Have 19 yes and 0 no.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Now, item D, setting of the agenda. I have been notified that item E2, the election results of August 2nd, I apologize, have been requested to be pulled. They do not quite have them ready yet, so those need to be pulled. And I'm sorry, Mr. Helton.
Mr. Chairman, can we move item 13 up to about 3A, the tax? Considering it could get a little crowded around here next week, and those people will be ready to go.
You're requesting
Right below the budget items.
move item 13 to where?
Right.
Between 3 and 4?
Yeah, between 3 and 4.
Are there any objections to moving item 13 to follow other budget items? Seeing no objections, Mr. Helton, is that your request, sir? Yes, sir. To set the agenda? Yes, sir. With those two changes. Mr. Burkhalter?
Item G11.
11?
G11, yes, please.
Mr. Helton, is that okay with you, sir? Okay. I have a motion to set the agenda with the 3 changes previously mentioned. That is the pulling of E2, the pulling of G11, and the movement of item 13 to follow other budget items. Do I have a second? That would be Mr. Moon. Any other statements, questions, or comments? If you would, please vote to set the agenda. And the agenda is set.
19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. Now, items for the consent calendar. I have in front of me no resolutions for special recognition. Is that correct? We will move on to appointments. Item 3A, Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Wright, I will recognize you, sir.
I'd like to nominate Andy Allen to fulfill his second term in that position.
Do I have a second? Who was it?
Harrison.
Mr. Harrison? Forward to the full commission for a vote. Forward his nomination to the full commission for a vote. Okay, sir. Okay. Any others? Who would please vote forward this to the full commission for a vote.
You have 19 yes and 0 no.
That will go forward to the full commission. Next item would be B, Ocoee Regional Library. Mr. Moon.
Forwarded retired Navy Captain Bill Beatty for the Ocoee Regional Library Board. Make that a motion to send it on to the consent calendar of the full commission.
Second. Have a motion and a second for Mr. Lael. Any other statements, comments? Please vote to forward that on. Mr. Kirby? Thank you very much.
You have 19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. That will go forward to the full commission. Next, have item C, Board of Construction Appeals. This is a mayoral appointment. Shows Bob Reed, J.W. Baker, and Jeffrey T. Fletcher. Stand for a motion to forward this on to the full commission. Just pick one of them out. I think it was Mr. Lewis and Mr. Burkhalter. Lael. Any statements, comments, or questions? Please vote to forward this on, please.
You have 19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. That will go forward on the consent calendar. We're unfinished business none. We'll now move to budget transfers. Bear with me 1 second there, Mr. Vineyard. Let me get you lit up, sir.
Item A is a recommendation from the Budget Committee that we amend. Let me start from scratch. We get money back from Social Security that has to be deposited for inmates. And we had been depositing it in an account that the Comptroller's Office has told us it's no longer appropriate. It needs to go in another account. So this is to comply with what the Comptroller's Office has told us we need to do. and that's in the amount of $13,200.
Stand for a motion to forward this to the full commission. Mr. Moon, to have second? Mr. Wright. He's closest. Seeing no lights, please vote to forward this. Ms. Birchfield? Thank you, ma'am.
Have 19 yes and 0 no.
That will go forward. Item B.
This item is to take money from the Highway Department's account that has metal piping in it and put it in a capital account so that they can buy some communication equipment. And the value of that means that it is a capital item.
Stand for a motion. Forward this to full commission. Mr. Foltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick question. Is this new radio equipment that the Highway Department is buying, is this compatible with the radio equipment the sheriff bought? His equipment's too expensive. Okay.
No, I don't need that power of attorney, Mr. Foltz. This is a narrow band that we've had in place. The federal government is closing those bands, and this is an upgrade to where our system will accommodate what the federal government's doing.
Okay, so you're going narrowband, but not digital.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no others, please vote.
Yes and 0 no.
That'll go forward. Item C, sir.
Item C is, as you may recall, you approved a budget that established $285,000 for the Highway Department for some capital outlay items. That money is funded from cable franchise fees. Cable franchise fees come in quarterly, and it is at the end of the quarter. The purpose of this $35,000 is to be able to start construction, I think, for a salt bin to get ready for wintertime. They can't wait till they receive the money. The State Comptroller's Office does not allow us to spend money we don't have, so they're proposing to spend this out of their highway funds, and then we'll effect the transfer later on when the cable franchise fee comes in.
Stand for motion forward. Any questions, statements? Please vote. Mr. Harrison. Thank you, sir.
Have 19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. Item number D, Mr. Vineyard.
A few years ago, Blount County issued some debt for the purpose of making improvements to the former Everett School for the Parks and Recreation Department. The agreement was that the Parks and Recreation Department would then make a payment back to Blount County that in essence is a lease payment but repays that debt. We have received a lease payment. That lease payment was not included in the budget. I wasn't aware of it, to be honest. And we now have the money, and as a result, we need to budget the revenue that we received, and as a consequence of that, it reduces the amount of fund balance that will be used in the debt service fund.
Stand for a motion. Move forward. $200,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Flipped the wrong page. Thank you, Commissioner. This item is another one of those items that we have misclassified in the State Comptroller's Office their auditors have brought it to our attention. The Motorola equipment that Blount County issued debt on, and then we receive money from Maryville and Alcoa for their portion of that, their pro rata share. We called that a contribution, but in fact it is a lease rental back to us. So it's a reclassification of what we call it.
Okay, now I'll stand for a motion on the 200,000. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis. Second, Mr. Whale. Any questions? Please vote for this item.
You have 18 yes and 1 no.
Okay, that'll go forward. I will now stand for a motion on item E, the 33,000 pertaining to Parks and Rec. That would be Mr. Lewis with the motion. Have a second. Mr. Carver, Mr. Helton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this money going to the Parks and Rec?
No, sir, they have made a payment to Blount County, and we're applying it to the debt that was issued to make the improvements at Everett School for them.
Okay, thank you.
No others? Please vote.
You have 19 yes and 0 no.
That's all I see on the transfers. Mr. Vineyard, we will now be moving to the increases and decreases, sir.
Items A, B, and C all pertain to the same transaction. They're separate because they impact 3 separate funds. It pertains to our no longer handling the purchase of items for tourism, and we no longer pay debt service on the note that the property where parking adjacent to the visitor center is. That note has been paid off. We budgeted all that stuff because we did not know when all this matter would be closed. The transactions have all been closed. We're bringing these 3 items to amend the budget to take out those operations because they're no longer needed. So we're reducing the county's, we're reducing Fund 101 by $874,000. We're reducing the debt service fund by $189,000, which is the interest and principal payments that we would have made if we were still paying on that. And then Fund 365 is a new fund. That is where the activities of the hotel motel tax will be accounted for when companies pay the lodging tax, the hotel motel tax. County clerk gets the money, gives it to the trustee deposits it in this fund, 365, writes a check for 70% to the tourism board authority, and then 30% to the general fund of Blount County.
Stand for a motion on items A, B, and C. That will be to move these to the full commission for a vote. Any statements, questions, or comments? Please vote.
Yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. Item D, sir.
This is a grant that the school system received for its central cafeteria fund, and it's in the amount of $19,700.
Stand for motion. To forward to the full commission. Mr. Carver, do I have a second? Ms. Lambert. Any questions? Please vote. Lambert. Thank you, ma'am.
You have 19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. It'll go forward. Items E and F, I'm assuming go together, sir?
They do. They pertain to the Capital Projects Fund for Schools, the QSCAB proceeds, and basically what we're asking for, the school board is asking for, is to reduce the project budget for Prospect School by $300,000 and increase or create a project for a roof on Porter Elementary School in the amount of $300,000.
Stand for motion to forward to full commission. One to Mr. Lale, one to Mr. French. Any questions, comments? Please vote.
Yes.
Thanks very much. That'll go forward. Item number G, Mr. Vineyard.
The state of Tennessee has the Tennessee Rehab Center of Maryville. In previous years, this funding has come from the Blount County schools, and Maryville and Alcoa are partners or funding partners of the Tennessee Rehab Center, and they pay for their contribution out of their general funds, not their school. As a part of the school board's adjustment of their budget, they eliminated this funding from Blount County Schools' budget, and we're bringing it to you for consideration of funding from the general fund of Blount County. The proposed method of funding this is it appears we're going to have at least an additional $73,000 in payment in lieu of taxes that, if you choose to vote for this, can fund it.
Thanks, sir. Stand for motion forward to full commission. And Mr. Folks, give me 1 second. Let me get you turned up. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm unclear as to what this funding is for. What do we buy with this funding?
If you, okay, give me 1 second, Mr. Samples. Yes, sir.
It was explained to the Budget Committee, and this is for education and training of mentally challenged, I guess we would say, adults, mainly adults, or 254 adults. And I believe it was, 16 children holding something, 16 younger people. Years ago, this was funded from the general fund. And somewhere along the line, it wound up being funded out of the school department. We're simply taking it back to the general fund. It is Blount County citizens, and most of those served, a great majority of those served are adults. Hence, not really any reason for it to be in the school department.
What agency provides these services?
I would ask the directors here, if you want to come up and introduce yourself. She can give you the agencies better than I can.
If you would introduce yourself.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah Quillen. I'm the center manager for Tennessee Rehabilitation Center here in Maryville, Tennessee. We are located at 1749 Triangle Park Drive in Maryville. We are a facility that has been in Blount County since 1968. We service individuals who have disabilities, all disabilities, mental, physical, traumatic brain injury, mental retardation, blind, deaf, combination, wheelchair users, everyone. And our sole purpose for our center is to help individuals to become employed. This is not a public assistance. This is a program that works with them with training, evaluations, job placement, adaptive equipment, whatever their need is to be able to get them back employed and back into the job market.
Just to clarify a little bit, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, you are a non-governmental agency then?
We are under the Department of Human Services. We are a division of Rehabilitation Services. There are 17 centers across the state that operate and are funded by local funds, which is 30% local funds, and it is matched by 70% federal funds.
Okay, so you're a state agency.
Yes, but I get no state money.
You're a state agency that gets no state money. I'm always amazed by these arrangements. Okay, thank you. You answered my question.
Thank you.
Mr. Moon.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the budget director, if this remained with the school, would it be paid out of split dollars? So being paid out of general county, we're avoiding probably somewhere in the neighborhood. It'd take around $120,000 to pay this through schools to net 77, 73.
Yes.
Thank you and thank you. Any other questions? Please vote.
Have 19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. Have go forward. Mr. Vineyard, does that complete our transactions for tonight? Thank you, sir. We will now move forward with what was formerly known as item 13, which we will move up to the next spot. I will stand for a motion to approve the resolution and forward it to the full commission. Mr. Melton, do I have a second? Mr. Halal? Ms. Lambert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, this is a referendum that will be put on the ballot in November?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the citizens can decide?
Yes. Mr. Folks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This gets talked about as a small increase in the local option tax rate, but it's a 22% increase in the local option tax rate, looked at another way. Mr. Vineyard, what's the revenue increase we expect if we do this?
It represents a 22.22% increase, and if you equate that to our collections last year, it would be about $7.6 million annualized, countywide.
So this is a $7.6 million tax increase. That's pretty significant. One that we all ought to think about. I'm also concerned for our business people. We must remember that Loudoun County and the western part of our county can easily go to Loudoun County to shop rather than Blount County. And Loudoun County has, we're proposing a 2.75% rate. Loudoun County has a 2% rate. That's pretty significant. And it will move some people to shop in Loudoun County that live in the western part of our county. Even Monroe County is 2.25. Knox County is still 2.25. So we're putting our business people at a significant disadvantage if this is approved. I think we all need to think about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the chair would permit, would Mr. Vineyard bring us up to date? This is passed in Alcoa. It's law in Alcoa.
Yes, sir.
What will be the money we'll be leaving on the table if we fail to adopt it in countywide? What would be the cost to Blount County if it's not passed countywide?
Am I understanding what you're asking him, if it is not passed in Blount County, how much will Blount County lose because it is already passed in Alcoa?
Correct.
I estimated what if a referenda were to pass in Blount County, that $7.6 million would get allocated about $2.35 million to Blount County schools, and about $567,000 would accrue to the highway department on an annualized basis. I don't know if that gets you what you asked for. That's just the way it would spread.
Thank you. Mr. Burkhalter, if I can get my thing to go.
No, that was the same question I was going to ask, is how much is Alcoa anticipating on receiving from this and versus, because if we are at 7.6 million for the entire county, and I believe Alcoa was anticipating 2.4 million based upon the news article today, then the city of Maryville would come into play. So I was just trying to figure out how much we're leaving on the table. That's all.
Mr. Samples?
I know we're debating this issue, but should we not be debating whether or not we are going to give the citizens an opportunity to vote?
Yes,
That
sir.
is the question. The question is not are we for or against this issue. All we're deciding is whether or not we're going to ask the election commission to give the citizens themselves a chance to make the decision. I, for one, am for giving the citizens a chance to make that decision. That's the question here, not whether or not we're for or against this issue. We'll decide that at the ballot box.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Lael?
Yes, sir. Thank you, and I would just like to add my agreement to what Mr. Samples said. That is the issue. At this point in time, it is something that has to be. It's the elephant in the room. You can't ignore it. It's here. It's going to be in place in Alcoa, and I would like, as a commissioner, to see that our citizens get the opportunity to voice their opinion on this for the county. It's one of the few times that they have their opportunity to step forward and do an individual vote, an individual preference as to where they want to go with this. Now, granted that, I would also say to our departments that will be most impacted by this, this is an opportunity for those departments to step forward and to make their case, as they did in Alcoa, to describe, to draw the pictures, to do whatever it takes to educate our citizens. At that point in time, they can make their decision, and hopefully it will be an informed one. So all that long-windedness just to agree with Mr. Samples, but I think that is the real issue, whether or not to put it up there for our citizens, period.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Lambert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was going to be my point that Mr. Samples made, that this commission is not setting up here raising or lowering taxes. It'll be up to the citizens of this county to vote for it, and Mr. Foots has plenty of time to throw out his numbers and campaign against it.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Foltz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The name is Foltz. I haven't even made up my mind on this tax, by the way, but I think the citizens, it's incumbent on this commission to provide enough data to the citizens so that they understand the impact of this. This is a $7.6 million tax increase, and the citizens deserve that information. Thank you.
Seeing no other lights, please vote to forward this to the full commission.
We have 19 yes and 0 no.
Thank you very much. That'll go forward. Move on to item number 4 now, regarding Custer Drive. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to move item 4 to the full commission?
So moved.
Mr. Wright, Mr. Moon. Seeing no lights for discussion, please vote. Folks, would you hit your, there you go. Thanks, sir. Ms. Lambert? Thank you very much.
18 yes and 1 no.
Go forward. Item number 5, regarding Parkline Way and Buffalo Springs Way. Stand for a motion, forward to full commission. Ms. Lambert, do I have a second? Second. Mr. Wright? Any questions? Mr. Folks, give me 1 second. Let me get you lit. Yes, sir.
These three, item 4, 5, and 6, I guess, are all, no, 4 and 5 are the same. We're proposing that the county take over some roads. Do these roads that we would be taking over, do they meet county specifications?
Mr. Dunlap, can you answer that?
No, they do not at this time. They do not at this time, but they qualify for the private act that's been in place for the county for several years.
So they do not, therefore it would cost the county a good bit to bring them up to county standards.
Good bit, you're going to call these two right here you're looking at right now at county share on it would be right about $24,000. Property owner's share is going to be about $48,000.
So it's $75,000 we're on the hook for. I mean, if you live on a private road, you ought to bring them up to standards before you ask the county to take them over. Thank you.
I think you misunderstood what he said. I think he said the county share was $24,000. The property owner's share was $48,000. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Burkhalter?
Mr. Dunlap, one quick question. Yes. I understand it's going to cost roughly $72,000 to get the roads up to county code. What are we looking at as annual maintenance cost on these roads?
Once we get them up, the only thing we'll be looking at possibly, I don't think see any mowing on it, especially these two right here where they are. They're across the bridge on Stables Drive up in Townsend, a little private development that went into place in 1960. And they're gravel, they're trees, drop-offs. There's not any mowing to it. The only thing I would see once they got up to standard would be the snowplow. You're looking very little for the time being. And if we build them the way they're supposed to be built, you're looking 20 years anyways down the road before anything major has to be done to them.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Merle?
Mr. Dunlap, I'm sorry. One more time. I just have a question about the process of this. When I'm looking at this petition, and I see a bunch of lots and 3 signatures.
Yeah.
Is that normal for?
On the 3 signatures?
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of probably 35 lots.
Okay, we've got on this.
Multiple lots for 1, 2, 3, 4 signatures.
On this particular one we're talking about right now, the
Buffalo
2 up
Springs.
in Townsend, okay, there were 16 signatures on the petition itself that I've got.
Oh, I didn't go far enough.
And there is more lots, so we have not identified those property owners yet. Whether they want to go in with it or not, that would drop their share considerably.
That was my question.
Yes, ma'am, it will.
Is should we
We will
look in-
explore this. What we're doing tonight or going to be doing next week, this will give me the ability to go under contract with these folks. If they want to proceed based on these dollar amounts, then we'll go under contract. We do not start any work, period, whatsoever, until all their monies are deposited within the trustee.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. French?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, if I'm not mistaken, did we not, I don't know that we added it, but did we not go to Custer Road
We
about
did. We
6 or
did.
7 years
Yeah,
ago?
it's been-
and,
no, it's been
the
longer than
people,
that.
And the people that lived on that road, did they not?
They paid.
They paid,
Yes, they did.
and that road was brought up to county
Yes.
standards, is
Yes,
that right?
they did.
Okay.
This is further than that too, and where we took it, there was no houses on beyond that. Well, this is 3 new houses
Oh,
beyond
okay.
where we stopped. That's petitioned, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, seeing no more, ladies and gentlemen, please vote for this item.
With 18 yes yes and 1 no.
That will go forward. Move on to item number 6. Do I have a motion to forward item number 6 to the full commission? Ms. Lambert? Do I have a second? Okay, have a motion and a second on item number 6. Any statements, comments? Mr. Kirby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If it's okay, I'd like for John Lamb to come forward on this.
Mr. Lamb, if you'd come up, please. Mr. Kirby's recognized you.
If you will, bring us up to date, John, on this, will you? Please.
Okay, this was referred to the Planning Commission for their recommendation. When it got to the Planning Commission, we noticed that dedicated right-of-way had not been accepted by the county, and that there were some other parties involved that were objecting to the closure of the right-of-way. So we sent it for legal review to Rob Goddard. It actually got to Rob Goddard. Mr. Goddard found that the county really doesn't have any interest in that easement. Even though it was dedicated, it was not improved, it was not accepted by the county, and therefore there was really no basis for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation. Upon further research, we found that the Blount County Planning Commission actually doesn't have a role to play in the closure of right-of-ways. That was from a memo from Norman Newton back in 1996. Now, if the County Commission would like for the Planning Commission to have a role to play in closures of right-of-way, they can adopt a state statute, but it takes 2/3 majority to adopt that. We could not find any evidence that the County Commission adopted it. Therefore, the Planning Commission has referred this back to you with a finding that we have no basis to close the right-of-way since we have no interest in it, and that we have really no authority to make a recommendation on it.
Does that answer what you wanted answered, Mr. Kirby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lake? I'm sorry. Mr. Lael?
Okay. I was trying to save you a few steps there, John.
Thank you. I was going to sit down close.
According
I
to
knew
the
that.
recommendation here, the only way this commission should even be considering this if the area is replatted.
That's my opinion. Mr. Goddard said that the county could give up an interest, whatever interest they might have in that dedication. In my opinion, the only way to do that is to actually amend the plat. The plat is of record with the dedication of the right-of-way. The only way, I think, to extinguish that interest, whatever interest we might have in the future, is to actually replat it and somehow divide that right-of-way among all the interested parties that might be involved.
All right, now that's where I was getting. I was saying, could the people who surround that or border that absorb that area and it become private property and none of our concern for sure?
You would have to figure who actually has the ownership of that right-of-way. I don't think the surrounding parties to that right-of-way, potential parties to that right-of-way, have ownership. It would devolve back, I think, to either the original developer or the heirs of that developer. That's just my opinion. I would suggest that you might want to get a further legal opinion on that. Somebody has to own it to be able to sign a plat to divide it.
Exactly, and that sounds like a very complicated process.
Well, platting is not too complicated. It's just we're not really
That's
sure
not what I'm talking
who's
about.
got it.
Okay, I see no additional red lights. If you would, in line with that, please vote to forward this to the full commission or not. I think Ms. Birchfield has had to step away. If you would show that as an A, we will drop down to 18.
Nine yes and 9 no.
Okay, it fails. It will not move forward. Moving to item number 7, resolution to amend the zoning map from S to C, property located 2884. I'll stand a motion to forward that to the full commission. Mr. Kirby, do I have a second? Second. Mr. Wright, any questions, statements, or comments? Please vote to forward that to the full commission.
Have 17 yes and 1 no.
Okay, that will go forward. Item number 8, amend the zoning map of Blount County, Article 13, in reference to pain management clinics. Stand for a motion to forward to the full commission. Mr. Kirby, do I have a second? Pick one.
Lambert.
Thank you. Mr. Lael.
Yes, sir. Just want to make one statement, and I trust that this has been explored to make this as stringent as possible within the state regulations on pain management clinics. I will make a personal statement that I am totally against having them in the county, period. Would like to in some way eliminate them if possible. We've been assured by our planning staff that this is necessary because of what has been passed in Nashville and so forth. And just like one more time to express my opinion and objection to having those in our area, because we've seen a history of problems wherever they have existed. Again, I trust our planning staff that they have made that as stringent as possible. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Seeing no others, please vote to forward this to the full commission.
You have 18 yes and 1 no.
Okay. We will now go forward to item number 9. I will tell you the request for rezoning or setting up the public hearing for the rezoning, this will have to occur at 6:45 p.m. on September the 11th, as there is already one scheduled for 6:30 p.m. Stand for a motion. Mr. Wright. Mr. Burkhalter, second. Statements, questions, comments? Please vote to forward this to the full commission proceeding of the public hearing. Hello?
You have 17 yes and 2 no.
Thank you very much. That'll go forward. Item number 10. Mr. Burkhalter, I will recognize you as this is what you have put in the packet, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I talked with the director of the children's home, and she and I had discussed, one, the county's involvement with the selection of having to approve the directors that serve for the Blount County Children's Home. And she and I both discussed about the possibility of trying to come up with a resolution that would eliminate the commission's involvement and the mayor's involvement in choosing the directors of the children's home. What this resolution does, is it approves a charter amendment that the Blount County Children's Home passed last month, restructuring their board and removing certain provisions out of their charter. And the sections that are removed are primarily just deal with the mayor. The selection process as it was is the Blount County Children's Home, if they have a vacancy for their board, would give the mayor 3 names, and then the mayor would choose one of those 3 names. If the mayor didn't like those 3 names, then they'd have to bring him 3 new names. And then whenever the mayor chose somebody, he would have to bring it forward to the full commission for approval of that individual. All that we're doing is we're just eliminating that part of the process. If the Blount County Children's Home wants to appoint somebody to their board, they have the full right without having to come to ask us for permission. The other aspect that it removes is, per the 2008 resolution, they're supposed to come before us every 6 months to give us an update on their fiscal standing, where they stand budget-wise, revenue-wise, and they had not been doing that, and so we removed that. Since we're not going to be involved with choosing their directors, we didn't feel like they need to come before us every 6 months and tell us where they stand financially. Now, what this does not touch is we are still the trustees over the Ellis Trust, where we still distribute out the income from that trust as agreed to back in 1934 when the fund was set up. The property where the children's home is located is still, it's in their name, but we still contain the reversionary clause in those deeds that should they ever cease to operate, that property comes back to the Blount County government. With that, if anybody has any specific questions, I'll be glad to entertain them.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to be added as a sponsor and make a motion to move this on to the full commission.
Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Samples?
Thank you. My problem with this, and maybe you can shed some light on it, if we're still a trustee, if we're still over the trust, responsible for the trust, why would we not want financial status reports?
Mr. Burkhalter, would you like to answer that, sir?
The only difference, they are still audited on a yearly basis. They are audited, I think, the past year by Ingram, Overholt, and Bean. The trustee's office can still always request audited financials. What I'm removing is they are supposed to be in front of us as the commission every 6 months to give us a status of where they are financially. All that I was removing was that requirement for them to be here because they haven't been here every 6 months to present anything to us. So all we're doing is just removing something they haven't been doing.
Just because they haven't been doing it, I'm not sure we ought to give up our rights to have them come here or to require them to be here to give us their financials.
But we don't require any other agency to give us any other presentation.
We're not responsible for other agencies' trust fund.
No, the only thing that we have is we are underneath the way the trust is set up. We are to give to the children's home the earned income off of that trust account. So as long as that agency is still in operation, we have to give them that money. I mean, we can't decide not to give them the money because we don't like how they're being run. So my viewpoint was trying to remove any type of exposure that we have to them. If we still require them to come before us every 6 months, give us an update, then we're still keeping our hands in their business. Our job isn't to tell them how to run. So this is trying to remove ourselves from their involvement and how they're operating their organization.
But what happens if there's a financial problem down there? They overspend, whatever. Do we have any responsibility there?
No. Right now, we very well could because they are included in our audit reports because we choose their board of directors. We could possibly be held liable for their overspenditures. What this resolution does is this removes us from any exposure to how they operate. They will just be a regular organization that gets an inheritance beneficiary, an interest income once a quarter, once a year, however that's paid out. So if they decide to take on more debt, if they decide to get upside down, no one can come back to us because we have no involvement with their organization outside of just giving them a check based upon the trust fund that was set up in 1934.
Could I ask Mr. Vineyard's opinion on this?
You most certainly can.
Do you have an opinion on this?
No.
No.
Okay.
Make up our own mind again.
Guys, I've got...
What are we paying him for anyway?
All right, Mr. Lael.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I guess most of my question was answered. This does step us away from the liability, yet we really do not give up any of the, what am I trying to say here? Should they fail and go away as an organization, then we still retain the rights to the land and all of those things without the overall liability. And obviously since 1934, the function of that children's home, and we've had some questions on that title and so forth, has changed drastically. I think it's probably in our best interest to separate ourselves by one more level by passing this resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis.
Do we know if there's any provision in the trust about what happens to that money if the children's home ceases to operate?
Yes, there is, but I think we would probably need Mr. Graves, the trustee, to answer that.
Okay,
and I don't see him here tonight. Mr. Vineyard, you are not familiar with that reversionary clause, are you? I know there is one, Mr. Lewis, but I cannot tell you what it is. I think Mr. Graves would be have to be the one that answered that for you.
Okay, that would be good information to have, and I think before the full body voted on it, that the county attorney probably ought to review it just to make sure that what we're doing is in good standing.
Okay. Mr. Folks?
Well, the more I listen to this, the more confused I get. The county is the trustee for this trust. Implicit in being a trustee is that you're looking after how the funds are spent. That's a fiduciary responsibility. We can't just, to take an extreme, if someone over there is making off with all the money, are we to believe that we can just sit by as trustees and do nothing and have no liability? I don't believe that. And it doesn't sound like this is a good move. Thank you.
Mr. Moon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Usually the trust document spells out the fiduciary responsibility, or at least makes it more clear. And therefore, the trust document should be examined, looked at, and a recommendation made by the county attorney. That's my comment. I think that would be the prudent thing, and I agree with Commissioner Folks. We do have a fiduciary responsibility, but how is it defined in the document itself?
Mr. Samples?
I would amend this motion to move it to the full commission to send it to the county attorney for his opinion prior to coming back to this body in the September agenda meeting.
All right.
I'll second that amendment.
Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, let me get clarification to begin with. We have a motion to forward to the full commission with a second. Is that correct? Correct. Now, he's wanting to amend it to send it to the county attorney for his opinion.
And then come back to the September agenda meeting with that opinion.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I can make a motion to postpone to the date certain September agenda.
Okay. Is that clear to everyone? I had a second on that. So we will be voting on the motion to postpone to the September meeting in order to obtain county attorney's opinion. Is that clear? It's a motion to postpone. He made a motion to amend, but then in essence what he's wanting to do is postpone it, Mr. French. Is that clear to everyone? Mr. Harrison?
I'm just thinking about this and wanting to comment on it. I see the business backing off of it, but then again, I just want to point out that all of us might see this was initially set up for the children of Blount County. And that's, you know, and then they invested as our responsibility. And it's kind of been apparent that this has not been being used as children, you know, so maybe we need to invest more and look more into this and see that this does get used for our children of Blount County. That's my only comment on that.
Okay, sir. Okay, we have pending on the floor a motion to postpone, receive opinion from county attorney, return to the September agenda meeting. Did I state that correctly, sir? Okay, if you would please vote on that, folks. Okay, that's what it will be then. We'll plan on seeing this back here on the September agenda meeting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move forward to item number 12. Ms. Merle, I will recognize you as your name is beside it.
I'm actually going to recognize Jackie Glenn, who's the department head. Jackie, if you could give us just a brief description of these grants. There is one of these grants is coming up. She has to submit for it very quickly, and so she's going to tell you a little bit about it.
The grant that she's talking about is the SNAP grant. It's a re-grant program that's sponsored by the Tennessee Historical Records Advisory Board. It's for $7,500. The first $2,500 is fully funded, and if you want to apply for the next $5,000 of the $7,500, they require some sort of match. You can use in-kind matching of money that's already in your budget, such as the amount of time that I would spend on meeting with architects or environmental and conservation consultants. I could show a percentage of my salary and the amount of time that I spend as the income match, so there wouldn't be any new money required to apply for it. The NHPRC grant is also like that. It requires a 50% match. It's a planning grant, but it would fund possible planning the move to the operations center, possibly an environmental consultant to advise us on the HVAC unit and the humidity and temperature and different environmental processes. The National Endowment of Humanities grant that I put on there that I plan to reapply for, I received notice the other day that I didn't get the one I applied for last year, and it may be that I may not get it again, but I've asked for the evaluators' comments from the review board, and I was going to look at those, which will not be available for about 2 or 3 more weeks, and then I was planning on reapplying for that one. I was trying to find funding to improve the conditions of the records department so that we could move to the operations center and evaluate the costs and see if it's possible that we could move or seek further funding, maybe through an implementation grant.
Okay. Mr. Burkhalter?
I know we've been talking about this for over a year. We obviously know that we're going to move the records department over to the MacArthur Road property, and there seems to be plenty of space in the building to move records. And I know you've run out of space in the 3 buildings you're occupying right now, if I'm not mistaken, because I know we've got another space allocation request coming from the clerk and master and the circuit court because they say you can't take any more records. Why can't we go ahead and just move to the MacArthur Road property?
We could if we had heat and air in that area. There's no HVAC unit in that area, but the area that I've requested is already semi-enclosed. It's got walls are already up, and I don't think it would, take too much to put some kind of ceiling in, but I would probably still need heat and air system with humidity and temperature controls and possibly lighting in that area.
All right, so what I'm understanding is you're applying for a grant to tell us what we need when we could tell professionals that we're moving and we want you to tell us what it's going to cost to give us what we need. So I'm not exactly sure why we are applying for a grant to spend money to have a consultant tell us what we need to bid on when we can. I mean, we've already done this in 3 other buildings, so I'm a little bit lost why we need to wait another year while we wait for a grant to come in. That's just more time that the records are scattered across 3 different places. You're spent in 3 different places. We got records piling up over in the Justice Center. I mean, why can't we just go forward? Why do we have to keep waiting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Moon.
Other requests for grant approval or applications always come before the body in resolution form. Listening to the discussion, are there 2 grant applications, 3 grant applications?
Well, I had in the beginning requested 3 different
and that's, I listened last night at the budget meeting. There was some confusion, and my point of order is it should come to us in resolution form, Mr. Chairman.
That is correct. It should come to us in resolution form, and in particular, if you're requesting permission on 3 separate grants, then it should specify, and also what the grants are and the time limits on those.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess what we were going to try to do is make a suggestion or a motion that if this gets approved, it was approved by the budget committee, if it gets approved to go to the full commission, to have that in the packet at that time.
Time out just a minute. Please don't talk unless your light's lit and I recognize you, okay? Let's not get into a point where we're talking amongst ourselves everywhere. Mr. Lael? What did you have to say, sir?
Nothing now, sir. Thank
I'm sorry. Mr. Melton?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do we have a motion of any sort?
No,
We're
sir, we
discussing-
do not have a motion. We
I
have
know.
a point of order that is supposed to be accompanied by a resolution. We have no resolution. Therefore, we're sitting here discussing something that I have no motion on.
That's my point.
The point of order is it is supposed to have a resolution, be in resolution form. And in reality, Ms. Glenn, it should be in resolution form stating there are 3 requests. Or you're requesting to apply for 3 grants.
Grants. I included information on those 3 grants, but I dropped the ball when I didn't put in a resolution.
Okay. All right. Therefore, I have no motion, I have no resolution, I have no second. Ms. Lambert, I'm going to go ahead and recognize you because everybody else is talking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I've not said a word, Mr. Chairman.
He's taking my time, Mr. Chairman. I object. You said one of the grants was time sensitive?
Yes, it's due September 1st. It's the SNAP grant, the re-grant program, and I think I've got a pretty good chance of receiving that grant.
But you need our approval to apply for it? Is that what you're saying?
I thought all grants had to be approved by the commission.
Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
The application of a grant, as I see it, you could apply for it, but if it requires matching funds, now if they require you to have it approved prior to the application, then I'd say yes. If they do not, I would apply for it, and then you're going to have to come back about the matching funds, and if you don't get it, you're not going to get the grant.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
So
Now, Mr. Parliamentarian, you tell me if I'm wrong on that, because I don't think I am.
The chair's decision has been that you can apply for all the grants you want to, but if it's going to require us to allocate money towards that grant, then you have to come back to us in a resolution form. So what I'm understanding the chair to say, and I agree with, is you can apply for all 3 of these grants without our permission. It's just if it requires matching funds, after you get the grant, then you come to us and you say, I've got a grant, I need at least $2,500 of matching funds to get the $7,500 grant.
what if those funds are already budgeted in my salary? Because I wouldn't be matching with new money.
Ma'am,
Oh,
time out 1 minute. All right, let me
okay.
back up.
So
On the application of that, Ms. Glenn, if you have to put down a statement, now, when you bring it back, if you do receive it, then it would come to the Budget Committee first and foremost, and then referred to this committee. That would be the route it would go. Now, what you're putting on the application, you're not giving them any money, ma'am.
no.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Samples. I'm sorry.
The Budget Committee gave her permission last night to apply for the grants. So I don't know that there's any reason for us to.
I don't know either. And to be honest with you, we have no motion, we have no second, we have no...
Well, thank you for your time, and I did not mean to take it up. I'm trying to follow the procedures.
Miss Glenn, I think this body's inaction says right away.
Okay, thank you.
Now stand for input on items not on the agenda. Anyone have anything to submit? Ms. Ball? Anyone else? I'll get you in just a second. There you go.
Mr. Chairman, this bothers me about this grants. What if somebody in the county wants to apply for a grant from the United Nations to implement Agenda 21? What if somebody wants to apply for a grant from the Muslim Brotherhood or the Taliban or Al Qaeda? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
Mr. Carver.
Just like to wish happy birthday to Randy Vineyard. So.
Anything from anyone else? Ladies and gentlemen, please, before we close, please remember the Hasty family in your prayers. Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.